Okay. Well, it's been a busy morning here, that's for sure. Phones are ringing. Everybody's voting. I heard we have some lines around some of the polling locations. We have been answering in our war room multiple calls and questions from mostly the poll workers and some voters. Um, we haven't had any major issues going on. The usual things, looking up voter records. The person that's at a polling place says, that they're supposed to be there when they're not. We're directed to another location. Just wanted to shout out that all mail ballots are to be postmarked by November 2nd, which was yesterday, and they can be you can drop them off in our drop box here at the Board of Elections today up until 7:30. So that's the real story, regardless of what else you've heard. That's the scoop. There's been some misinformation spread out there. Um, Also, on our machines, when people are voting, because of the time change and because of some of the CMOS batteries being bad, the time on the voting machines themselves is off. However, the time on the ballot scanners when the ballot is, scanned is correct. So we've gotten a few calls about that. So I just wanted to let our voters know that there's, it's not, nothing's going to be wrong. Like if your ballot doesn't have the right time when you look at the express vote machine, the scanner has it. Any questions?
Jan, we always get a couple calls if any poll places open even just a little bit late.
Right, right.
We'd heard one on Salem Avenue and maybe one in Jefferson Township opened a few minutes late this morning. Everything okay at those now?
Yeah, yeah, and we always have, and that does happen, and we always have an emergency kit so they can start, even if the like express votes aren't up or they haven't turned on everything. We have an emergency kit where they always start voting everybody on a paper ballot at 6:30.
And, you had talked earlier in this process about how Montgomery County seemed to overwhelmingly favor the touchscreen voting.
Right.
Um, I saw that this morning at places where people were willing to wait after waiting to get in the door from the cold just to get in the building. They would then wait in another line to do touchscreen and not use the kind of the old fashioned paper ballots. You
Right.
seen that a lot?
I haven't got any phone calls about that, but we've been asked by the Secretary of State if there is a line to offer paper ballots to people standing in line to expedite it.
And can you just talk about how they need to not worry that if they fill out a paper ballot, it's just the same? I mean, it's counted the same, it's all the same.
It is the same. I mean, it's just the old-fashioned way, paper to pen. The issues on the ballot are the same. The candidates on the ballot are the same. I think we just kind of got used to voting on the machines, and people are used to that. And once you get used to something, we're creatures of habit. But yeah, everything's fine with the paper ballots as well.
As you're going through today, then um, what kind of, do you have a total of your mail-ins and your, after yesterday closing at 2, where kind of percentage you had of people that had already voted in the county?
I do, but I haven't looked up those numbers. Like they're on our website, and you can probably gather those yourself. I
Yeah,
just
no,
haven't I haven't done the
I didn't
percentage
know
this
if,
morning. Sorry.
okay, that's okay. No, no biggie.
I think I talked about it at the board meeting yesterday. Like that was early in the day. We voted, I think, about 60,000 in-house, and then another 120,000 by mail, somewhere around there. So it looked like we had about 120,000 people left if we had a 75% turnout to vote at the polls. Jordan, you were at the meeting. I think that was about the numbers. Guessing a 75% turnout, but who knows? I hear there was a big turnout, so you never know. It could be higher than 75%. And then for people that are voting, if you are online at 7:30, you will be able to vote. And we just put placeholders in line, which is a person that just stands in line at the end of the 7:30 line, so they can hold that 7:30 line holder. It's usually one of the precinct election officials, and that's how we do it. or if there's an order by a judge to keep the polls open longer, we'll let you know. We haven't had any such order. How is everything else going on in the rest of the state? I haven't heard anything. What have you guys heard?
Someone in Tip City accidentally drove into a polling place, apparently.
Ooh.
I don't know what kind of, I don't think there was more damage to the car than there was to the building, but
Oh, geez. All
that's the
right.
only that's the only thing I've heard
That's
so far.
Miami County. Ugh, glad we don't have that.
Bellbrook in Greene County had a location where a bunch of machines went down, so they had to switch just to paper ballots.
Right, that sounds pretty good. If that's
And
it.
Jan,
Wow.
will you talk about like at the polling place, like I did mine, electronic touchscreen, and it
Mhm.
was just easy, when you're done, it gives it to you and then you take it and you scan it in. But what's the paper ballot? Is it scanned in same scanners that are
Yeah,
there?
there's both the digital and the paper ballots are scanned in the same DS-200 scanner.
So someone filling out a paper ballot, it has their vote already scanned, just like everybody else before they ever leave.
Yep.
Okay.
Jan, I'm assuming you would have told us this, but have you had any reports of voter intimidation at the polls? Anybody coming open carrying outside of polling locations, anything like that?
No, we haven't. I think we had one location, campaigners were within the 100 feet, and the polling location supervisor just went out and told them to move. We have that all the time. People are just too close to the 100 feet. They got excited, and they moved. So nothing really scary.
Mm-hmm. We had some concerns from people. We heard some concerns. The only location with 6 precincts down at Sinclair Community College in Centerville only has 2 voting machines, and there were some really long lines. Can you talk about that? And is there
I,
anything you guys can do to address that today? Or
I'd have to look into that. There are more than 2 voting machines, equipment wise there. So I don't know. That sounds like some misinformation.
yeah,
They
it
might have
looked
met
like
two of the
there were
big,
only. It
two
looked
of the
like there
big
were only
states.
2 machines there when I was there this morning.
So you were there.
Yeah,
Okay,
so I
and you
went
only
down there.
saw two express votes?
Yeah, 2 of the
Well,
electronic machines.
well, there's 4 on each of those carts. So there was just one opened on each of them?
That's a good question. I'm not gonna. I
Let me call
don't want
down
to
there after, let me
characterize
call
them.
down there after this call and see what's going on. But yeah, thank you. I'll do that.
Based on,
Theoretically,
go ahead, Mike.
oh, I was going to say, theoretically, on each of those, on what you guys call those safe machines, there's four machines on each of those one machine. So if you had 2, there would be 8 electronic availabilities in addition to the paper ballots at a precinct, right?
Normally we'd have 8 available, but we only have 6 available because of COVID. We couldn't open all 4. We had to, because of spacing.
Based on what you're hearing, Jan, about lines, are you going to change your predictions about 75% voter turnout?
Now I'm gonna stay with that one for now. I'm gonna reserve the right maybe to change it around 3 o'clock.
Okay.
And Jan, despite whether it's 75 or even if it goes all the way up to say 80 or something, you're still feeling pretty good about where you stand in terms of once polls close at 7:30, counting and having results before midnight?
Yes,
Okay. And those mail-in ballots that have been returned and processed will be the first ones to be counted at 7:30?
yes. The absentee ballots are always the first ones counted on election night. And we're ready to go with those. Just glad we're not Pennsylvania.
Yeah, talk about that, Jan, in terms of people will probably hear Ohio results tonight or early in the morning at the latest, because in
Mhm.
Ohio, all 88 counties can count mail-ins, process them.
Right.
Pennsylvania and some other states are not able to even start.
Yeah, Pennsylvania, I think, is able to start today. I know that they weren't able to start as early as we were, and we're able to not count them, but we're able, like you said, Mike, to process them. We can open them, press them down, tear the ballot stubs off, and scan them, but we can't tally anything until tonight. but we've been able to get everything processed that we have in-house. That's why I'm confident we'll have some good results early on of all those who have voted in-house and all those who have voted by absentee ballot.
Can you talk a little bit about, you said you had seen some misinformation out there, people trying to convince voters that they couldn't drop in those mail-in ballots at the drop box till 7:30 tonight? Because I know I've been reporting that too. Where did you see that misinformation?
I heard it on the radio this morning, actually WYSO, Kristen, that there had been a cabinet member that had given some misinformation, wrong date on that, and I I heard from somebody in the hallway that there was also some here at the Board of Elections that there was some misinformation, so that's why I wanted to straighten it out.
I know you guys worked on an emergency plan with Homeland Security, with Sheriff's Office, with Dayton Police, but, and I know you don't want to talk about details of that, but you said you haven't heard any concerns at any of your polling here locations in the first, 3 to 4 hours almost coming up on now that give you any pause for concern?
We haven't dispatched anybody, and we do have police officers here and sheriffs here, and they're out in the field as well.
And you haven't had to send anyone anywhere?
No, no.
I mean, any problem has been a voting type, procedure or technique or.
Yeah, yeah, they have. They haven't been like people fighting in line, like we had here yesterday. We had a couple incidents here yesterday.
What, and I know yesterday was a shorter day because obviously it was the last day, 6 hours, but it seemed
Right.
like it was obviously packed the whole time.
Yeah,
Do you have a number just from yesterday? I mean, did it compare to other full days or
I don't. I'm sorry. We were here late and I just didn't look at that number.
the incidents that happened? I mean, were they people with, supporting different candidates or were they
They
inside the
were,
lobby?
they were, and a sheriff had to get involved. Allegedly, somebody made a threatening statement to somebody else, so.
Okay.
People, this is a highly controversial election, so people's, are pretty tense, and you could feel it. You could feel it in the air here. So I hope everybody stays calm and just behaves themselves in line at the polling locations, and we are gentle and kind with each other and be civil and pull this election off in a good manner during what has been a really awful year for many, many people.